both big and small. With courage and heart, he answers the call. Cat Max. Cat Max. Cat Max.
The Adventures of Max the Cat.
On board the orbital station EOS, slowly rotating above Earth, Cat Max sat in the transparent observation dome. It was always quiet here. Only the soft breath of the filters and the rhythmic hum of the station reminded him he wasn't completely alone. Max spent every evening here when he wasn't busy with assignments. He watched Earth, the distant flickering of satellites, and most of all, the stars. In his paw, he held his favorite toy, a small mechanical glowing butterfly. Its wings shimmered softly, glowing in shades of blue and violet. Max smiled. He had loved butterflies since he was a kitten. Once, he had saved an entire colony of real Earth butterflies from a system malfunction in the greenhouse of a scientific base. Since then, they had become a symbol of something warm and true to him. These days, butterflies were rare, but they still fluttered in virtual gardens. And this glowing one, it stayed with him always. On his chest, in the center of his orange spacesuit, glowed a soft blue letter M. It was the mark of his name, his mission. The little terminal wasn't really for communication anymore. It served as a reminder. Real messages came to the station's main terminal. Suddenly, the dome grew even quieter. Even the filters paused, just for a moment. Then, in the silence, a high-pitched alert broke through. Above the central console, a screen lit up. Station Mars 9. Signal lost. Incoming SOS. Max stood up, his eyes narrowed. He touched the butterfly and gently placed it into his pocket. He already knew what he had to do.
I'm going,
he said softly, without hesitation. Bublik, the onboard universal bot for lightweight exploration, was as round as a pastry and far louder than anyone would like. He rolled through the technical bay, releasing small bursts of static panic from his side vents.
An emergency signal again. Maybe it's just a meteor shower disrupting the frequency, or a solar flare, or someone accidentally dropped an antenna.
It's a distress signal,
said Max as he checked his gear.
The station has been silent for 2 hours. I need to investigate.
But you know what they say about Mars.
Bublik lowered his voice to a whisper.
They say there's echo there, a real one, a living one.
Max didn't reply. He already knew that neither fear nor rumors would stop him. He was the kind who always went when someone called for help. The flight took longer than usual. Space currents were unstable, and Max had to plot the course manually. He sat silently, in his chair. Bublik whispered fish recipes aloud to calm himself. Max didn't even notice. He was thinking about butterflies. About how once, he had caught a butterfly on the edge of a crater covered in flowers, and how it hadn't wanted to fly away from his paw.
Max!
Bublik said suddenly.
What if there really is something there, something not human, not a bot? What would you say?
Max looked at him.
I'd listen first.
Bublik fell silent. His digital eye blinked once. Mars greeted them not with wind, not with dust, and not with a storm. It greeted them with absence. No sound, no motion, no life. Everything was too calm. Even the landing felt as if the planet had carefully softened. Max was the first to step outside. The sand was soft, as if it had no dust. The air, dead, but not dangerous. Just asleep. Bublik analyzed the atmosphere.
Noise level, 0. Absolutely, Max. Even our ship makes more sound than the whole planet.
Max walked toward the station. The doors weren't locked. The lights, dim. Inside, disorder, but not destruction. As if everything had simply stopped working. On the floor lay scattered objects, and among them, a player with a final recorded message.
He's already inside.
Max froze. He didn't feel fear, only a strange ache, as if someone had wanted very badly to be heard, but hadn't been able to speak. There were strange reflections of light on the station's walls, soft pulses that moved in unexpected ways. Shadows moved faster than the objects that cast them, and the sound of footsteps did not return. There was no echo. It didn't linger, as if it disappeared into space. Bublik pressed against Max's leg.
We're not alone. I feel it. Max, maybe we should go back.
Max silently knelt and touched the floor. He listened. Nothing. But that nothing was so thick, it almost rang. He stood up.
No, Bublik, we must go further. Someone has been waiting for us, and they've waited a very long time.
On the second day at the station, when the silence outside had almost become familiar, Max saw her for the first time. It was a butterfly, but not an ordinary one. She didn't glow. She reflected. In the air, in the glass. Even in Max's helmet, she wasn't there. And yet, she was everywhere. She appeared while Max was sitting by the station's observation window, gazing at the horizon. She fluttered past, reflected in the glass, and vanished. But Max understood. It was a sign. He stood up and followed her. The butterfly that wasn't there. The reflection that called him forward. Bublik rushed around him.
Where are you going? We have protocols. You're not allowed into Sector E without authorization. That leads to the caves. Max, wait!
Max walked with confidence. He didn't hesitate anymore. Something was calling him, not with words, not with sound, but with presence. He put on his helmet, checked the suit pressure, and stepped outside. The path led downward, toward the crevice he had noticed on the day they arrived. Back then, it looked like just a fold in the landscape. Now, it was a portal. At the entrance, he stopped. The air seemed to tremble. Bublik remained outside, shaking slightly, quietly playing classical music for self-soothing. Max stepped into the darkness. The cave beneath the surface of Mars was unlike any Max had seen before. It wasn't just dark, it was deep, as if it led not downward, but inward, into time itself. The walls shimmered with thin veins of quartz, catching even the faintest beam from his flashlight with almost painful sharpness. The stones breathed, or seemed to. Max moved slowly. Each of his steps caused vibrations. Not sound, but sensation. It was as though the air responded to his presence. He sensed the cave wasn't empty. It was waiting, somewhere behind him, near the entrance. Bublik finally broke the silence and sent a message.
Max, I'm still here. I just can't come in. I'm sorry.
It's okay, Bublik.
Max whispered.
Stay in touch.
He continued walking. Suddenly, a pulse, a vibration ran along the walls. He stopped. a distortion appeared in the air. A nearly invisible shape. At first, like a mirage, then clearer. It was a being, or part of one. It had no edges, no body, no face. It simply was, made of light and sound. It sang, but not a melody. A rhythm of space itself, and each note resonated in the chest plate of Max's suit, making the glowing letter M pulse ever so gently. Max didn't move, he just listened, and he remembered the words.
I'll listen first.
The being shifted. It spiraled into a vortex of light, and within that vortex, Max saw a butterfly, the same one, but now woven from sound and light. It fluttered between the stalactites, leaving a trail of soft, glowing mist. Max stepped forward.
Are you Echo?
There was no answer, but the space around him unfolded. He suddenly heard a voice, his own, only frightened. Then Bublik's voice, funny, anxious. Then the voice from that recording. He's already inside, but now. Not a warning, a recognition, a plea. Max closed his eyes. He reached out his paw. The butterfly landed on his glove. A moment later, it dissolved, and everything around him was flooded with gentle light. The being, Echo, merged with the light, and then Max understood. It hadn't tried to frighten them. It had tried to speak. It wasn't evil. It was loneliness. Max returned to the station a different cat. He no longer rushed. He didn't want to fix, or solve, or decode. He wanted to listen, and to give something the chance to be heard. He reprogrammed the main terminal. Instead of the alarm signal, he set a new frequency, gentle, alive, rhythmic. He had recorded Echo's pulses and broadcast them into space, not as a message, but as music. Not to alert, to resonate. Bublik hovered nearby, watching curiously.
Are you sure this will work?
Max smiled.
It's not about working. It's about sounding.
Beneath the station, the heart of the cave glowed softly. It breathed, and for the first time in many years, it was no longer alone. The signal created by Max spread through the ether like a quiet shimmering wave. It wasn't loud, but it was deep. It didn't call. It didn't cry. It listened. It waited. An hour passed, then another. Bublik began to panic again.
Maybe we just went to the wrong place, or maybe it's asleep, or it's offended.
Max said nothing. He sat at the console, his paws resting on the keys. He simply waited. And then, something changed. Not a sound, a light. In the center of the room, a faint pulsing point appeared. It grew brighter. It came closer. It was Echo, but now it didn't hide in shadows. It had entered the station, not physically, but through the signal, through the rhythm. It was in every monitor, in every reflection, and then the main screen flared up. Bright but soft. The image had no shape, but in its center, gently, almost imperceptibly, a butterfly surfaced. The same one. It wasn't flying. It simply was. Like a warm thought. Like trust. Bublik froze. His digital eye went perfectly round from surprise. Max whispered,
I hear you.
and for the first time in all of history, Mars answered. The next day, Max and Bublik set off for home. They didn't take samples. They didn't write reports. But with them, they carried something far more important: harmony, contact. Along the way, Bublik whispered,
What if now Mars speaks on its own? What if every planet has its own silence?
Max remained silent, but he smiled. The ship rose into orbit. Earth appeared in the window. Blue, radiant, home. On Max's chest, the soft blue letter M still glowed. But now, from a small opening in the terminal, a rhythm could be heard. Very faint, almost imperceptible. Echo. Several weeks passed. Everything was peaceful again on Station Eos. Max sat beneath the same observation dome, where he had once seen the distress signal. Now he simply looked at the sky. Bublik floated over with a tube of fish broth. Cat style,
Everything's quiet.
he said.
No one's calling. No one's crying. No one's gone missing.
Max nodded. And then he noticed. In the Cygnus constellation, a one star was shining a bit brighter than before. Just slightly. It hadn't been listed in any catalogs. Bublik hovered closer.
Astronomers will say it's a flare or space dust, but we know.
Max looked at it for a long time.
We know.
He whispered.
She heard us.
And once again, the silence filled with light.
There's a kid, brave and bright, leaps so fast, a fearless knight. When there's trouble, don't you fear, Max the hero will be near. Max, Max the hero cat, swift and strong, just picture that. If you're lost or need a hand, Max will help, he'll take a stand. Darkness doesn't scare him, no. Through the night, he's on the go, running fast, so bold and free. He's the leader, wait and see. Darkness doesn't scare him, no. Through the night, he's on the go, running fast, so bold and free. He's the leader, wait and see.